Welcome to MICAH's Northeast Chapter 2024 virtual bus tour. We're recording this for posterity and for folks who couldn't make it. My name is John Slade. I am MICAH's senior organizer and I will be your tour guide. But right now I'm going to kick it off to two powerful and wonderful women to give us the welcome and the faith reflection. Janet.
Thank you, John. And let me add my welcome to everybody who's with us this morning. Just say how happy we are to have you with us. MICAH, or the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing, was founded in 1988. It was organized by people of diverse faiths concerned about the rapidly growing number of people in our communities experiencing homelessness and firmly resolved, that is, the organization, to deal with the issues creating that crisis. Their mission then remains our mission today, to ensure that everyone, without exception, has a safe, decent, accessible, and affordable home. We are a welcoming community, respectful, accepting, and loving of everyone without exception. Our members include congregations and other organizations that help to address the immediate needs of people in our community, providing support such as prevention services, outreach, food, shelter, transitional and supportive housing, and affordable rental and home ownership options. In addition to providing or supporting these direct services, we advocate with local, state, and national policymakers to address systemic causes of homelessness, lobbying for policy changes that encourage communities to build and preserve affordable housing that, after all these years, remains in such short supply. Our work is based not only on our values, but on listening to and working with people who have experienced homelessness themselves, allowing them their rightful place at the table and a voice in making decisions and developing solutions to the current housing crisis. 70% of MICAH's board and staff are from diverse communities. Over half of our board and staff have themselves experienced homelessness or housing crisis or discrimination. We organize in 6 regional chapters, including the Twin Cities and suburban areas. Numerous MICAH volunteers and staff in each chapter meet monthly on Zoom or in person. So with that brief introduction, I will turn our meeting over to our director, Sue Watlov Phillips, for a faith reflection. Sue?
Thank you so much, Janet, and thank you so much for your great leadership with the MICAH Northeast Chapter and all of your support. And I would also like to welcome you all to the MICAH Northeast virtual bus tour. MICAH is a welcoming community where we believe that everyone should have a home. And from our 13 major world religions, we know in the sacred writings that we are called to love others as ourselves. MICAH 6:8, which is one of our primary verses within MICAH, is, "What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." And as a Christian, from my faith perspective, Matthew 25, as Jesus talked about what we do and what we don't do, he said, how you treat the least of these, or those with the least, is how you treat your God. I'd like to share a writing from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It's one of my daily devotional readings of his writings. He was a German Lutheran pastor. During World War II, he was really encouraged and invited to the United States by pastors here to try to keep him safe from the Nazis that were invading and taking over Germany. He basically said, if I'm going to be a part of rebuilding Germany, I must be there to be a part of the resistance to the Nazis. And he went back to Germany, and he was a part of the resistance, and he was put into prison. As Allied troops were coming, just a few hours from saving him from prison, he was hung. This is his writing on a home. Most people have forgotten nowadays what a home can mean, though some of us have come to realize it as never before. It is a kingdom of its own in the midst of the world, a stronghold amidst life's storms and stresses, a refuge, even a sanctuary. It is not founded on the shifting sands of outward or public life, but it has its peace in God, for it is God who gives it a special meaning and value, and its own nature and privilege, its own destiny and dignity. It is an ordinance of God in the world, the place in which whatever may happen in the world, peace, quietness, joy, love, purity, discipline, respect, obedience, tradition, and with it all, happiness may dwell. Not novelty, but permanence, not change, but constancy, not noisiness, but peace, not words, but deeds, not commands, but persuasion, not desire, but possession. In a word, live together in the forgiveness of your sins, for without it, no human fellowship can survive. Don't insist on your rights. Don't blame each other. Don't judge or condemn each other. Don't find fault with each other, but accept each other as you are and forgive each other every day from the bottom of your heart. And that's my hope and prayer for all of us as we continue to work together to make sure that everyone, without exception, has a home in our community. Thank you.
Yes,
All right. Thank you, Sue. Just wanted to let folks know once again that this is MICAH, the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing. And our mission statement and MICAH 6.8 are right there. So I am your bus director and tour guide today. It may well be that our next affordable housing bus tour is actually on a bus with 4 wheels instead of this virtual bus. But here are the rules of our bus. This meeting is being recorded. Stay muted if you can until you're called on. Ask a question. If you have a question, and there should be time for questions, you can either raise your hand on the camera, which might be seen. There is a raise hand button on the Zoom menu, or you can comment in the chat and we'll get to your question. If at any point your audio or video seems to be getting choppy, try turning off the camera feed, and no spitballs. I mean, come on. All right. Thank you so much. I sent the 12-year-old off to school well. All right. So let's get ready to get on board. We have our virtual coffees in hand, and the virtual diesel fumes are getting to us here. All right, here we go. There's our bus, and we're pulling right in to Solid Ground. Solid Ground is an award-winning nonprofit that exists to prevent and end homelessness through safe, affordable housing and supportive programming for families. 35 years, Solid Ground has helped families break the cycle of homelessness and poverty for the next generation. Our presenter here is Diamond Hunter, the Executive Director. Super proud and happy to have her here. Diamond, you'd asked if you can share your screen. Is that something?
Yeah, so I did. Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone, for having me here. So I try to get my screen going. Let's see. This is always trial and error for me, so give me a second.
Diamond, you got this.
And then slideshow from beginning. Are you seeing my screen? Yeah. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing.
There you go.
Okay. And it's on 2 screens, so I'm not even sure which screen I'm supposed to be looking at. But again, I am Diamond Hunter, the Executive Director with Solid Ground. I am excited to be here. I am excited for the work. A little bit about me. I've been in the sector over 15 years. I started this work because of a personal passion. One, I grew up in a Pentecostal household. My grandmother was Pentecostal. She was a pastor. She had a homeless shelter that we called the Mission, and she housed any and everyone clothed, provided clothes, food, and shelter for any and everyone. I also experienced homelessness myself, even though my grandmother had a homeless shelter. So that was wanting to be out on our own and venture out with my mom. And we ended up homeless as well as I did as in my lifetime. And I had a personal passion for ensuring that everyone had safe and affordable housing. And so I started my career primarily in the east side of St. Paul, working at Merit Community Services, really providing services to families in the child protection sector or preventing them from entering into child protection. And so a lot of my work was surrounding ensuring families had resources to prevent them from ending up in child protection. But my true passion was ensuring families had a safe place to call home, because we identified that when families had nowhere to live, it was really hard to address those barriers that they had. And so when the position came available for the director of programs at Solid Ground, it was a no-brainer for me. We worked closely with them when I was at Merrick. And so it was a great partnership. And so for me to sit here now today as the executive director, it's really exciting because Trisha left so many, I don't want to call them breadcrumbs. I sometimes say nuggets, but she did so much in her 27 years to grow the organization. And so my vision for the organization is to really take that history from what Trisha did and what the founders actually did and really grow it to an even larger organization. And so the PowerPoint that I'm going to share, some of you already know Solid Ground, so it's going to be redundant. But I think it's important to give that history of what we did, where we're going, and where will you see us in the next year or so. So again, our mission is to prevent and end homelessness for families with children in the communities we serve through housing resources and opportunity. And usually when I get on and I do these speaking engagements, I always say our overall goal is to end and prevent homelessness, period. I want to work myself out of a job. Every family should have safe and affordable housing, and that is it. And once we hit that goal, I'll try something else. But usually that's what I start with. And really that's the important piece of just ensuring that Solid Ground is doing our work. And another piece is our values. We really pride ourselves on being person-centered. Every person that comes into our organization, we're ensuring we're providing wraparound services and creating goal plans that are person-centered. We're ensuring that we're community-driven. We are in the community. That's why we're here today. And so it's important for me to always just highlight our really core values and our foundational piece of what we do. And Andre is here too. I just want to note that Andre is here, our Director of Advancement. And so Andre, chime in at any point when I miss anything. She has to keep me on top of things because I'll just get going. So Andre, chime in at any point. But then to just speak to what we do, many of you know this, we really use a team approach. We have the family in the center, but we have a housing navigator that's working on ensuring, so families who are coming from our scattered site programs, they're working with the housing navigator to address those housing barriers, help them get access to affordable housing, and address any barriers they have that may lead to them not being able to get stably housed. And then we have our family advocates who are working with the family on those self-identified goals that I mentioned a few minutes ago, which is really helping families create that plan and pipeline to graduate from our program. And then the children's services specialists, they're equally important to ensuring that their children have that support that they need so that they can thrive. And they work really closely with the school district in ensuring any families that children have behavior needs or IEPs or just any deficits when it comes to academic progress. They're working with the families to address those goals also. This is the PowerPoint that I really want to spend the most time on, just to really talk about what we do, how we do it in the areas that we see the most growth in for Solid Ground as an organization. So right now, we provide services on the housing continuum, anywhere from prevention all the way to permanent supportive housing. And these numbers are households per year are a little low. These were We need to update this PowerPoint because we served, especially in prevention, we've served more than 350 individuals thus far. But prevention is really for us to keep families in their home, as you all know. And so we're helping families with their arrears. We really pride ourselves on being able to resolve the crises. So when a family is coming into solid ground, there's a cap. We all know funding, there's funding restraints, but internally, we really want to make sure we can resolve the crises. So our goal is if a family comes in, if there's an application and they're eligible, we're going to find funds to really help resolve the crises, which is really, sometimes it's a struggle for the staff who are doing the prevention work. Because if someone comes in, we had someone recently come in with the $10,000 balance, but our prevention staff are really good at bundling. So they're partnering with, I believe that particular case, they partnered with Washington County and helped really bring that balance down to ensure that the family stay stably housed. Prevention is where we're seeing most of our growth. So Ramsey County, we're growing in our home to stay program. We have larger amount of money there. However, our intentionality and where we really want to see most of our growth is in Washington County, and we're seeing that as well. And so we're doing a lot of work with our prevention funds in Washington County also. The other program that we've been really growing in is our Homework Starts with Home program. We have an expansion where we expanded from suburban Ramsey into Washington County. And Jenny, don't quote me because I'm trying to remember the number. We go back and forth on the numbers, but we expanded into Washington County, and we've seen that there's a high number of homeless families in that area. Again, that's where we are really being intentional about our growth, is really expanding into Washington. And so we're really excited about that program with Homework Starts with Home, and that's HTF funding that's funding those programs. And then we go throughout the entire continuum. And the other program I really want to just focus on is Welcome Home Washington. You'll see on a later PowerPoint when I talk about what's next. What's next for us is to increase the number of families that we can offer permanent supportive housing to. In Washington County, currently we can help 16 families. We want to expand that work. One of the barriers there is finding housing providers for the families, because that's for chronically homeless families, and someone in the household also has to have a disability. And so just really advocating for families to get access to housing in Washington County has become a little bit of a struggle for our housing navigator. However, she's been doing a great job helping remove barriers, as well as communicating with property owners surrounding our program. But it's essentially permanent housing for those families, and it's a subsidy that's attached to it. So we're really excited about that growth as well. And then I'll back us up again to just our East Metro place, where it all started, where we are currently remodeling our East Metro Place location. And our capital campaign, phase one of our capital campaign, which is a $6.6 million capital campaign, $4.1 million of that is to renovate East Metro Place. And with the renovation of East Metro Place, we're going to have a new community space that we hope that our goal is to open it up to the community, to have community meetings there, as well as be able to offer hybrid programming for our scattered site families, because we've upgraded all of the technology in that space. We'll have a dedicated tutoring space for our tutoring program. We'll also have a childcare on site, which is really for respite. It won't be a licensed childcare facility, but it will be a respite space for the families that live at East Metro Place, as well as for families when they come on site for programming. We'll be able to have a dedicated childcare room. We're also going to have a wellness room for our staff as well as the participants as well. And so we're really excited about the growth and expansion that's happening at East Metro Place. And so if you haven't seen any information or newsletters around the expansion, I encourage you to connect with Andre or myself, and we can bring you out for a tour. And then the other PowerPoint is just really highlighting some numbers, just to say our program works. These work. The programs we do, what we do works. And these are our 2023 numbers. And so we were really excited about these numbers when they came out. I just want to highlight that the top bullet point says we've served 841 individuals in these are our 2023 numbers. We already have served 1,380 families as of yesterday, or individuals, as of data, some numbers that I shared yesterday at our all staff meeting. So we are growing, we are doing great work in the community, and we're growing fast, and we're really making an impact in serving families and serving them well. And serving them well is the biggest piece of what we really want to do. So investing in our staff and investing in our infrastructure has really been important for me, and ensuring that we can continue this great work in the community without burning our staff out as we grow so quickly in doing this work. And as you see, in Washington County, we served 233 residents from the individuals we served in Washington County. And I didn't pull our Washington County numbers yesterday, but again, those numbers are just rapidly growing for us. And I always want to highlight that, because that is such an amazing area of growth for us to see how much impact we're making across Washington County. And then again, what's next? I talked about that a couple of slides ago, but one of the biggest pieces I'm excited about is our Gladstone Crossing partnership that work with Beacon Interfaith. I know you guys have heard about that, but we're continuing that work. I think we're looking at opening in 2026. Andre, quote me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 2026 with that work that we're looking to do. And it's to provide housing and services to 20 chronically homeless youth. The building will be for 40. So we're anticipating we may end up serving all 40, but we're looking for funding to serve 20. We want to continue to expand our work again in Washington County, specifically with our Welcome Home Washington program, because that area we can, it's really about having those permanent supportive housing vouchers that's attached to those units, or subsidy, I would say that's attached to those specific units. And then completing our remodel of East Metro Place, that'll be done in December. And so phase one, will be done in December. So staff will be able to move into their new office space in December, but the entire project will be done in March. So we're really excited about that. And then it's continued the great work with our capital campaign. Andre our Director of Advancement, has been doing a great job really leading those efforts and bringing in the funds. I believe we're at 91% of phase one, which is the 4.1 million. And so we've been just doing a really great job of ensuring we can bring in those resources to get the remodel done and have a really safe space for staff and the residents to live over at East Metro Place. And then last but not least, how you can get in touch with us. I would say if you want to come for a tour, Andre is always open to scheduling them, but I always say I'm open to coffee and tours as well. We have plenty of volunteer opportunities with our Family, Youth, and Community Engagement Manager. We're doing a lot of different things to keep families engaged, but we also want to bring the community in. So thank you. Any questions?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Diamond. And yes, it's time for questions. I see Sue has raised her hand. So if anybody else, Preston has, who's from Habitat. Yes, Habitat and Solid Ground needing to converse. I totally agree with that one. Sue, you have a question?
Just for folks that don't know what the acronym HTF is Housing Trust Fund. And then Diamond, if you could just talk a little bit about how diverse your staff are, and then talking about how people that have or are experiencing homelessness are involved in your organization. Obviously, you talked about your own personal experience, how you are encouraging them to use their voice and power to make a difference in all the work.
Yeah, so our goal is to always hire staff who reflect the community we serve. We have just started really tracking staff who actually have lived experience, and Andre can help me speak to this really, because she's been great at advocating and ensuring that we collect that information. However, it's always been a goal of Solid Ground to ensure we hire staff that reflect the community we serve. And so that's an initiative that we are actively working on and enhancing and growing in that area. And then to speak to participants' voice, we are enhancing our residence council at East Metro Place. Historically, Solid Ground had a residence council, and during COVID, it kind of went away. And so one of my goals actually, when I just recently presented our strategic bridge, which is kind of a year where I'm trying to give myself as the new executive director to breathe before going into strategic planning. Part of that, one of my goals is really around uplifting participants' voice. And so we will bring in someone to help us do some restorative work first and foremost. Just because as new owners of East Metro Place, there's been some challenges there, right? And we really want to support and uplift the community's voice, and that's really important. But the first step is really around that restoration and healing. What we don't want to do is just step in and say, here, we're going to fix all the problems without taking a step back to say, hey, we know we didn't get it right all the time, and bring someone in to really help us bridge those connections and have those conversations with our residents and then rebuild that trust. And so from that point, we'll then pull in and have more advisory councils and committees to ensure that we have participants' voice. But right now, our main outlet and avenue for that is our residence council that we have at East Metro Place. They're assisting with some of the remodel pieces. We're doing a mural on the wall currently, and so we've been talking to them about what they want on the wall or what they would like in the mural and working with our artists with that. They've helped us pick out the colors for the paint, some of the design on the outside, the landscaping work. Our next phase is to pull them into the conversations about the program redevelopment and redesign. So we're doing some of that work as well. So what I would say is we're evolving, we're growing, we're enhancing, we're taking a step back and looking objectively to say how can we improve and how can we do better. And then we're bringing the community in with that to help us do better as an organization.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the time that I spent with you and Andre last week, and we were excited about the possibility of one of your residents also joining our Speakers Bureau at MICAH. We are your neighbors, so glad that that's a connection that we can make there too. Thank you again for all your great work.
Thank you, so.
So, John, I was just going to add, this is Andre. Yes, so 66% of our staff have lived experience with homelessness. So that is the number that is super important to us. It just adds to what we do in such a meaningful way. And I would say that's from a leadership level, across the board. It's not just frontline staff. So that was one thing. And we have a lot of great information about our capital campaign, including pictures on the website. And so we really welcome you to go look at that. And we would love to have you come, not just because we're having a capital campaign, but to really see our families, see the staff, and see the space that, Janet's church was part of the instigator that set Solid Ground in motion, that it's really a community investment. And I would say also our capital campaign is where we're at because of the community investment from our funders and our just people that have donated, knowing this work needs to happen. And as we grow, we really need to sustain and invest in our internal pieces so we can be around for the long haul or until we're no longer needed. So just wanted to let you know about that stuff.
Thank you, Andre.
And I just wanted to highlight another connection. Tim Marino is here for the Purple People, which is the Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit. In that transit planning, it's easy to get bogged down in federal details and municipal those. But the idea that Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit makes it to Century College and Solid Ground East, because you've got so much right there, is something that this MICAH chapter has been really strong on. So it's I think about time to say thank you so very much to Diamond and the wonderful work that is going to be coming forward in Solid Ground, both in Ramsey and Washington counties. but it's time to get on to our next stop. All right. You might notice the bus driver pulled the bus around to the north side of the facility. So let's get going. Just a quick little jaunt right over to Washington County and Amy Blair. So Amy is the Housing and Homeless Manager with Washington County, and she's going to be talking about the Washington County Emergency Housing Services Building, which aims to serve single adults in Washington County experiencing homelessness, offering a safe, stable environment and essential services to support the transition into permanent housing. Also, Amy, if you are on screen.
Yep.
There you go. And sorry, I realized that I've got the opportunity to spotlight the speaker. Should have done it for Diamond, but hey, it's still 8:34. It's early for me. Anyway, Amy, did you have a presentation you'd like to share?
Yes. All right. Is that good? Are we good?
Looks good.
Okay. So I'm Amy Blair, Housing and Homeless Manager with Washington County, and I'm here to share some really important updates with our Emergency Housing Services Building. In a lot of ways, celebrate because we have made it really, really far. I know we've attended other we've done other presentations with MICAH, and so it's just really exciting to come back and just share updates. And I do want to acknowledge that there's a lot of folks who are part of it or who are part of this meeting who were big supporters and so helpful with this project. And so I think I saw CDA Chair Steve Ryan, and I have a couple people from my own team, Jenny and Doreen. Stepping Stones is going to be our service provider. And then MICAH, of course, has been along the way attending meetings and open houses and just have been really big advocates for us. So a reminder what our Emergency Housing Services Building is. It's going to serve single adults over the age of 18. It's located on Stillwater Government Center campus, centrally located in the county and close to our needed services. As you can see, it's right next to the Government Center building, where a lot of our social services are at. Last time I think it was here, we were still deciding between two different exteriors, and this is the one we chose. And so this is the exterior of the building, and you can see we have parking lot for guests right there, and then walking path not too far away. So program details, it will again serve adults without children. There will be a commercial kitchen, and Stepping Stones will provide 3 meals a day. It will be ADA accessible with an elevator, 2 floors, and so on the main floor there are so I should say one interesting thing about our project that is unique to other shelter spaces is we have single room occupancy rooms, and so everybody will have their own bedroom with a bathroom too. So I do think that makes our project unique. We do have rooms on the main floor, and then the rest of the rooms are upstairs, and 7 of those are double rooms or double occupancy rooms to allow partners to stay together. Wraparound services. So Stepping Stones will provide case management services. We have training rooms, and so a workforce center can come in and help folks with like creating resumes. We have a large gathering space. One of the ideas that came out of some discussions we've had with people of lived experience is that they talked about the need of some meditation or quiet spaces, and so we have built that into our building as well. The building will be county owned, and we will contract, like I said, with Stepping Stones as our service provider. So along the way, the design has been guided by people of lived experience, and so first conversations is what has prevented you from accessing shelter in the past? And so I can't stay with my partner. There's not enough storage space. I'm going to lose my possessions. I want to stay with my pet. And so all of those are incorporated into the design of our building. So people will be able to keep their pets, people will be able to stay with their partners, and we built in large storage spaces as well for folks to keep their possessions. And then we had more conversations about the design. That's where meditation spaces came out. Just even like the color of the spaces, and so like greens and blues and whites, and so a lot of that came out of conversations. And then we went back during our time where we're hosting open houses in the community and had an open house at the interim hotel that we have. And some more ideas came out for different services and just touching base to make sure that we haven't gotten anything that'd be really important for these services. So I do have a quick video of somebody who has been served in our hotel program.
Is the sound coming through, Amy?
Amy, there comes.
You might have to share audio as well. So just go to the share option, and I think that's another button you have to click, is the audio option.
The share option. So do I get out of the presentation?
So you might have to come out of the presentation and come back in, and then on your bottom left-hand corner on your screen, it should say enhance video and enhance sound on the bottom left.
Okay.
As you're about to share.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
Hey, I learned something new today.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, and then let's go back to. Okay. We're good?
I'm really good at seeing the positive side most of the time. I'm a hard worker. I'm really good at the gift of gab. When I came to the Twin Cities area, I had my 2 dogs with me. We were staying at an extended stay here in Woodbury, and I had gotten a position with Working America AFL-CIO to finish out the voter registration campaign. My first encounter with Washington County Outreach was in the hospital. I was diagnosed with a stroke. Alana was my caseworker at the hospital. Alana was working with me on when I was going to be released from the hospital, where I was going to be housed. And she goes over what options could potentially be available to me. Explained to me that we've got 10 hotel rooms here in Stillwater, 10 hotels over in Woodbury, and one comes available here at the same time that I was going to be discharged from the hospital. And I have been here through the winter, instead of being on the street in the cold and in the snow. I have my humble little abode that, helps me maintain my humanness. My experience with Stepping Stone here in the Washington County has been really phenomenal. It has been very compassionate. Everybody that I have interacted with has been very compassionate and sees me as a human being. And sometimes I think we, as American citizens, often forget that homelessness is human. My experience with homelessness prior to this was on the giving side as opposed to the receiving. I have volunteered in pantries and shelters. What I would like for people to know about homelessness is that there are many of us out there just like me that are one paycheck away. It can be just a twist of fate that brings you to a spot where you never thought you would be. My experience in the past has been many people feel that you're in the spot and you don't want to get out of it. It's like, well, no, you know, we want to get out of it. I don't want to be staying here. You know, I don't want the assistance. I mean, I need the assistance to help get me where I want to be. This is my space. I feel human. I have people that care. And when you feel that, you care too.
So Ivor, actually, as I was watching the video, it was Ivor that said, "Hey, wouldn't it be really nice to have a meditation library space?" So, and she is still part of a lot of our advocacy work, and I'm not ever really sure what to say after those videos because they're so touching. Oh, okay, so timeline. So just as a reminder, February 22 to April 2023 is that the CDA and Washington County staff look throughout Washington County to find the right location for emergency housing building. And we did land right on the county campus. January through April, there's just, especially the city, there was a lot of work with the city of Stillwater to have discussions about the design. We did need a zoning variance from the city of Stillwater. So started those discussions really early. The county, we did host 3 open houses for the community. Went really well. A lot of MICAH supporters were there, so that was wonderful. And then the CDA also submitted watershed and Stillwater planning applications. On June 2024, some of you were in the room that the city of Stillwater did approve our city zoning variance. September 2024, the CDA has released bid package, a construction bid package. And today, actually, they're going to be reviewing the bids. CDA is going to review the bids. November, still working out some details, but that will be our groundbreaking. And October 2025 already is our anticipated grand opening. That's it.
Right. So I'm going to get you a little off the hot seat so that I can see more hands being raised. So if you have any questions or comments, please do raise your hand. And I see Paul the Geest and Sue. I'm going to go to Paul first, and then we'll go to Sue. Paul.
Thanks, John. Just want to say Stepping Stone is so proud and pleased to be partnering with Washington County on this project. It's a big deal for us too. So thank you.
Excellent. Sue?
And Amy, thank you for sharing Ivor's story. I know that you have a whole video of many of those folks that you heard previously telling their stories. So if you wouldn't mind putting the link to that in the chat, if you have that handy. I think it's just a wonderful way for you to hear the various stories of people that have utilized the great opportunities that Washington County has provided and their incredible input into really making now the emergency housing really a place to call home as people are making this transition back into their own home. Thanks again for your great work.
Yeah, and in the video, everyone found housing. So also really good to share. But I will link the video and our website of, we have a website just for emergency housing services building with updates posted on there as well.
I also want to thank John Hodler, the folks of Trinity Lutheran, and other folks in the HSAT group. The best that the approval that the city of Stillwater gave to the zoning revisions was the best affordable housing support community meeting I've ever been in. There were 60 people, and at the end, John turned to the crowd and said, "Okay, everybody who's here to support this, stand up." And 55 of those 60 people stood up. And it was an excellent. It was a long haul, and a lot of people working in a lot of ways to try and get that to happen. So, absolutely great for that. All right. Now I
just say too, John, could
Yes.
I just say too how exciting I find it? The extraordinary achievements of these two organizations and the community support they've been able to find for their efforts, and their very effective efforts. So thank you to both organizations. It's just remarkable achievements.
I want to thank Jenny Mason for your incredible leadership in this whole process too. Just the vision and the tenacity and persistence to make it happen with Washington County was just incredible. And so thank you.
All right. Well, now let's share this screen. Give a big thanks to Amy, and get ready to head to our next stop. Let's see where the bus is. We just turned it around, and it's time to get going. And we're just going to shoot right down. That must be 36 over to the Purple People. The Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit Project is going to bring about $400 million in county and federal investment. The Purple People exist to make that project serve as many people as possible, as well as possible. MICAH is part of the Purple People. We believe that this project must continue to connect the East Side with the rest of the Twin Cities Transit Network and more. Tim Marino, who started out as a housing or just a transit advocate, quickly got grabbed by Dayton's Bluff Community Council to become the community organizer, is going to be our presenter here. Tim, are you getting on the camera and ready to go and all that good stuff?
Yes, should be all good to go.
Right, let me spotlight you. And I've got these couple of slides. Do you want me to hit the slide, or do you just want to talk for a bit?
You can hit the next slide.
All right.
All right. So thank you for the intro, John. John has also been a really vital part of the Purple People, and I appreciate him for bringing me on to the project, into the group, and connecting me with more people in the area. It's been really good. But yeah, so we're talking about the Purple Line. First, personally, for me, why I really got involved with this project is just like I used to have a bus commute that took me 2.5 hours one way to get to work. And that was for a $13 an hour job. And it was not good. That burns you out. It just drains you. Like every aspect of your life is either going to work or you're at work, and then you come home and you're exhausted. And those things, like those type of commutes, are repeated by a lot of people in our community. And when I get my friends to want to come over to the East Side and visit some of our restaurants and parks and businesses, they always tell me they don't really come here over like that often, just because it's so far away. They don't feel like they're connected. It's hard to get people to want to make that trip over here. And when that's the case, it's hard to see our community grow. When we talk about this project, that $400 million, like, it's not a small number. It's not every day you see an investment like that wants to come to the East Metro. We're used to these investments not reaching our community. And as an area that is historically underserved and underfunded and forgotten about, we have to make sure that we can maximize this investment, but make sure it doesn't go other places. So what is bus rapid transit? often it's described as it's kind of like a light rail, except without a train. And so it uses bus lanes to be able to go faster than traffic. It has stops that are a little more spread out, so it can also go a little bit faster. And those stations are constructed in a way where people can notice them. They can become parts of the community that uh, that people want to bring housing investments to. It's something that can really work really well with affordable housing. And so there was even something said in Maplewood a little while ago where they were talking about how some of the affordable housing projects were allowed to have reduced parking and to allow more housing units because the Purple Line was going to come there. And they were realizing that, not everyone's going to need a car if there is a bus line like this that is going to happen. Which unfortunately is kind of sad because recently in the Maplewood City Council election, there were some people, some of the members on the council brought forward a resolution that showed that they did not support the Purple Line. Now, this is kind of touching on a lot of conservative fears of this transit, bringing crime and power, and bringing people who are for and people who, they're going to come steal your stuff. And it's really sad because it's like these people, they already exist in your community. They're already taking the bus. This is about improving their everyday lives. It's about making sure that they have access to places. It's about making sure that they can be able to spend more time with their families, spend more time being able to relax, being able to do things that do not require just going from one place to another. So I've been really excited. Oh, you can hit the next slide, John. I've been really excited to work with the Purple people. I mean, it's just seeing the coalition with 4 different district councils in St. Paul, MICAH, and these electeds working in coalition together to really uplift the community voices. It's something that you don't always see in a project like this, where they usually have some methods within the project itself, but having a group that is specifically focused on the community, building our own power, listening to the voices that we hear in our community to make sure that they're not left behind. We as a group are working to advocate for anti-displacement funding, for business mitigation funding, because it's no good to people if we can build this project and then you can't live there anymore because your housing prices go up. Why would you would want to support this because it's going to be built for somebody else and it's not going to be your community anymore. And so we really want to make sure that we're centering those voices and making sure that they're not left behind in a project like this. We recently had an event at Cups and Cheers off of White Bear Avenue. And we brought a lot of people together to talk. There were people who were for the project, who were against the project, or just really hadn't heard too much about the project. And we were wanting to ask questions and bring people to the table and say, how can we make this better for you? What are your overall thoughts? What are the things that if you were against it would make you want to support it? What are your concerns? And from that, it really brought people together in a way to be able to hear other people's experiences. We've had some people who came in very against it who were like, okay, I still am concerned about a couple things, but I'm starting to see the value in it because it's not just a scary talking point of, oh, it's going to change everything and it's going to bring these bad things. You're starting to talk to people who use who would use the bus, who would really need this, and you start to see the value that it can provide people. And so as we as a coalition are continuing to build support for this project, we don't believe that, because of Maplewood's vote on there, that this project is dead. There is an election coming up very soon, and there are people who are running who would support the Purple Line to replace people who wouldn't. We want to continue to connect with Maplewood residents, with transit residents. We want to continue to ensure that the project in St. Paul can be better, that we can work with groups like Walk on Teepee with their Phelan Creek daylighting project. We want to ensure that this project can still spur affordable housing development in a lot of places, because when you have, like I said before, when you have a huge investment like this come to an area, it's going to bring development. And we want to make sure that that development can still be affordable and that people can be able to go downstairs and right out their door and catch a bus. And it can create an area that is more dense, that supports more businesses. And so that is the Purple people. And if anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer them.
I suppose if I want to start talking, I should probably unmute myself, take the spotlight off, and opening it up. I see Paul DeGeese from Stepping Stone has his hand up. Paul.
Yeah, hi, John. Quick question for Tim. What happens if Maplewood doesn't change their mind?
So that's something that could still be determined. Technically, there isn't, like, unlike a light rail project with a bus project, it's something where it doesn't need a city's approval. And it would really depend on the Met Council saying, okay, do we want to continue this project and go forward? Is this something where we're going to go with that or not? It's still a county, the road is still a county road. And so it's kind of a weird level of uncertainty, just to be honest. And so we're kind of working through this and trying to encourage the Met Council to say, hey, we have people that still need this project, so it's a bit of uncertainty. I wish I had a better answer for you. I wish I knew a better answer. But I don't know if John wants to touch on anything more with that.
Well, the situation where when White Bear Lake did essentially the same thing, a 3-2 pro-transit, pro-purple majority was replaced by a 3-2 anti-purple majority. When they voted to say thumbs down to the purple line, they did not think that the Met Council was going to listen to them. As Tim said, there's a phrase they call municipal consent is required for light rail projects, is not created for this or required for this project. And MICAH fought. We were in City Hall a couple of times trying to say you should keep it up into White Bear. And our chapter position is it should still go into White Bear. But what we didn't have at that point, and which was the stimulus for starting the Purple People, was an organized group of transit advocates. We have had that. The Purple People have been on the field for a couple of years now. We've had a bunch of successful and really fun events. And we've also been able, I think, to bolster the Ramsey County commissioners who want to support this line, and the Met Council staff who have to make those decisions. So as Tim said, this is in the gray zone of political strength and pulling back and forth. I see both Janet and Sue have their hands up. First Janet, then Sue. You're on mute.
Yeah, I have a question that has to do with the contrast between the proposal to go up the Bruce Vento Trail and the proposal to go along White Bear Avenue. And I'm thinking, when we're thinking about density of population and the likelihood of affordable housing, it seems to me that that the White Bear Avenue is so much a better choice. The Bruce Vento Trail goes through a residential area after it gets out of downtown St. Paul, a residential area of comfortable homes that that people are. So it's not you're in my backyard or anything, and it's also on a wonderful walking trail and so forth. So to me, what is the advantage? Let me ask you. Tim, what's the advantage of the White Bear, or do you see it that way as I do?
Yeah, I definitely agree that White Bear Avenue is a better option. And it's something that, as a coalition, we are united behind, is wanting to make sure, as John said at the beginning, is we want to bring the best transit to the most people as possible. And when you look at White Bear, like, there's businesses that need to be served. There are empty lots that have been sitting there for years that could become apartments, that could become housing for people, instead of just, some grass in the field that isn't really kept too well. And, there are places that, like, it could really serve. There are destinations that people want to go to. There's a library there. There's stores that, like, people go grocery shopping. It's a spot that I really want to see grow and become better. And as we think about White Bear Avenue, if you're walking on White Bear Avenue, that is not safe today. We heard from many people who were living at the senior home that was near there that they did not feel safe crossing the street over there, even at a traffic light when they had a walk signal. they still were feeling not safe. They knew people who got hit there. They said that there was a study that came out where it said the average speed on this 30-mile-an-hour road was 47 miles an hour. And when you're going 47 miles an hour in a place where a lot of people live, you're not going to see them. You're not going to stop at them as often as if you're going slower. And so we look at this as something where this could save lives by reconstructing this in a way that is safer. And that's kind of the overall thing with the Purple Line project. It says brings $400 million, and then it can help to make the roads safer. It can help to spur affordable housing. It can help to make sure these businesses get more customers by bringing people to the area. When an investment comes, there's all these additional things that come alongside it and make the whole community better.
Great. All right, Mike from St. Michael's. Got a question?
Hi, I'm Mike from St. Michael's. I'm also the mayor of Vadnais Heights, and we are really desperate as a city to get public transportation. We're really on an island, which is true of a lot of the cities in our area. And I was really disappointed to see that Maplewood had made the decision they made. And if I had known they were on the cusp of that, I think I would have lobbied them a little more, but I did not know. And we're agnostic about which road it takes, but again, that whole quadrant with the school and with our city, it seems really short-sighted of those cities to be in opposition. So I just wanted to say that our council is totally behind whatever improvement we can make to that area. And if there's any way I or we can help, please contact us.
Yeah, thank you. And I would also just say that, like, as someone who lives in St. Paul, it's very difficult for me to get to Vadnais Heights on the bus. And so this is kind of a little bit of another touch point on there, but there is a current study going on by Metro Transit called Network Now that will change how the different buses going. And so I've definitely left comments in there that I would really love to see more transit go to Vadnais Heights.
Thanks.
All right, excellent. Linda, and then we've got to go to Habitat.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody. I live in Winona and have a son with special needs who's nearing 40 years of age, who walks 1,000 miles a year to work, back and forth 3 miles each way because of a lack of transportation in a small city. And so I just wanted to chime in and say it's not any fair to not have this provided. We need to do better. Thanks.
Great. Okay. Now we're going to thank Tim and Dayton's Bluff for hiring Tim, and get ready to head out to our next stop from the Purple People. Oh, backwards, forwards, backwards. Oh, backwards again. And we are now pulling up to the site of the former Hillcrest Golf Course. Preston Hollis, who's the happy-looking fella in the center of that photo, is there at the development of what they now call the Heights in the northeast corner of St. Paul, bordering on the border. Used to be the golf course. There are slated to be 1,000 new jobs and 1,000 new housing units, and of those, 147 of them are going to be built by Habitat for Humanity, single-family twin homes and fourplexes. The largest affordable housing development in our recent history, include solar panels, 5-acre park. People are going to be moving in this summer. The last of the units complete in 2028. And Preston and the whole crew just completed a crazy, crazy event. I'm going to turn it over to him, and he can tell us all about it. Thank you, Preston.
Thank you for having me, John. And I just want to voice my support to Tim and the Purple Line as well. Hearing everybody speak on that for a moment is powerful, because I just hear a lot of desire for connectivity and, to strengthen communities and allow everybody, no matter how much they make, right, financially, the opportunity to get from A to B in a sound manner and one that's safe. I've been over canvassing in East St. Paul for a while. We have the Heights development there now, and we're really proud of the work that we got done last week. John, you're amazing. I don't know where you got that picture. It wasn't from me, and it's a great photo. So thank you for supplying that. And that was my boss as well in the picture. I'm glad to be here with y'all. And I know it's going to be quick, so I left my email. And I'm also going to put a couple of the paperworks that we utilize when working with people for our housing program, just so that if you guys have any questions or concerns, maybe these will be able to allow for you to, share out some of the work we do without my assistance. And then just know, of course, that please reach out if you do have questions. So, yeah, we are doing the largest development in Habitat's history, and that's happening at the Old Hillcrest Golf Course. We are very, very proud of the work that's getting accomplished there. And what I'm going to show you here is just some high-level details, and I'll also read off a couple of things that make it a really special project. 147 units is what Habitat for Humanity will be responsible for. Every single one of those units, y'all, will have solar panels that were donated to us. So the solar panels are going to be an incredible way for that whole entire situation to just be a very fruitful and sustainable project. What we're really working on right now is making sure that we highlight the sustainability of our efforts. So there's a couple special things that really just make this a groundbreaking and transformational build. And we're really proud and looking for more families in East St. Paul specifically to get into those homes, because East St. Paul residents, first and foremost, deserve those opportunities. So they have passed, all the homes in the Heights will pass a LEED Platinum certification, which is all electric. So this is going to be an all electric community, which is definitely just new age. And the rooftop solar panels will help to make sure that the electric bill is cheaper. Energy Star appliances and building materials were selected with sustainability in mind. Air source heat pumps for highly efficient electric powered heating and cooling will be available in each unit. Sustainability features will boost the long-term affordability for each home. So we're really proud of that. And then, of course, our signature product of the mortgage is really what makes this a game changer, y'all. So that 30-year mortgage with payments you can afford and it never being higher than 30% of your monthly income is something that's really special. And I've watched that recipe allow so many families financially that did not think that they were in the wheelhouse to be able to purchase a home. And it's just been incredible, y'all, and so inspiring to watch families come in with that knowledge, that thinking, and that intimidation around housing. With our financial coaching, as well as our just education around home ownership in general, we are a support system that really allows for a confident home purchase to be made. And once again, by a lot of people that financially would not be able to accomplish this journey without our assistance. So on average, each family is going to experience at least $100,000 of savings on their house. That's structured by a mortgage that is upfront in a first mortgage, which they're responsible for. And then there's other mortgages that support that are supported by different municipals in the city, as well as a ton of donations worldwide. A stat that blew my mind at the Carter Work Project, which was last week in East St. Paul, was the fact that internationally, Habitat has supported 59 million people to get into homes. So it's really just an unbelievable number, y'all. We're really just, my job as community engagement manager is to go into the 7-county metro now and just work on making sure that more families are aware of how they can partner with us, how they can volunteer, how they can get their children involved with AmeriCorps. We have a foreclosure program that's incredibly successful. And so, yeah, any ideas and just inclinations y'all have, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We can always look to support the beautiful organizations such as the ones in this call, right? that are doing the work like us to just support people having a better tomorrow. Equity is at the forefront of our mission. So yeah, anything surrounding that is something that we're going to be excited to support and work with and just see what we can get accomplished. So yeah, those 147 units will be ready at the end of 2028, as John stated. They are definitely available, though 5 of them will be available this summer. And so we do want people to realize that that is a reality in terms of you joining our program, getting through the housing program with the assistance of myself or my teammate Sydney. I provided her information. Both of us are going to be experts at helping people with the application process. And that can be something that's a daunting task for somebody. And so we do a lot of in-office hours to support folks. And that's another way that we're just working on being more client-centered. So a couple things, too, I wanted to end with is just letting y'all know a couple myths that no longer exist at Habitat. So we no longer do sweat equity, but there is still a ton of volunteer work that happens around our houses. So I like to let people know that because these families still dedicate a ton of time and hours to our program to be a viable client and candidate for the housing. So these are hardworking families. We got rid of sweat equity because it was essentially another job added to the plate of somebody that we were trying to assist to get into a home. It wasn't helping. So now there's something called volunteer and learn, and that still allows the same opportunity and experience for homeowners to where they get to volunteer, build on houses. That happens after their purchase. And then they're in our wheelhouse and in that community forever and get the chances to make sure that they grow their community by meeting other house owners and, yeah, just learning and growing and gaining new skills to take and bring back to their houses. So no more sweat equity. And then we also have the open market option. The open market option this last year, I'm very excited to tell y'all, was our most successful option. And that is where people take the mortgage now that we provide at our nonprofit, wholly owned mortgage company. And they can take that on the open MLS market and shop for any home in the 7-county metro area. So it's really exciting because we understand that, of course, we want to help financially those the most in need. And then also that's a very large growing situation, right? That group of people that financially need assistance is growing in our economy. So we know that our product is more important than ever, and we're really proud of the work we do. So, yeah, apologies for not really having a slide deck ready, but just know that the partnerships are amazing. And one thing that we do is make sure we aim to partner with BIPOC groups and entities in the city. So we're really proud of one that I want to highlight is Sherman Associates. They've been wonderful. Anderson Windows has donated every window. You guys, I am still coming down from last week, so I'm glad John highlighted that. There was 800 volunteers on site a day. And so it was an incredible experience to watch Minnesota come out and support something of such a large magnitude. And you really just saw the city's true colors shine bright. And that was a loving, all-encompassing, everybody is welcome community that was excited to get to work and get this accomplished. So, yeah, with that being said, JO Companies is a BIPOC-owned development company. And so it's just been really inspiring as a Black man myself to see a Black-owned development company that Habitat intentionally went out and made sure to partner with just to once again continue to support diversity. It's something our country needs, and we know that we have to be the role model for that. So thank you for your time today, and I really hope that, yeah, we can find some partnership opportunities out here afterwards because there's a lot of great work still to be done. And all the work you all are all doing is so beautiful and inspiring as well. So just keep up the great work, and thank you for having me today.
All right, take off that spotlight, take off the mute. Big props to Preston for having dealt with, let's see, 800 volunteers a day. Was it 5 days? Was it 2,000 volunteer people coming through? Yeah. And you're still standing, and you get a week off, and great for you. This MICAH chapter is deeply involved with Habitat for Humanity. Dave Eng is sporting his Habitat shirt. George and Paul Cadera have all been part of that. We are coming towards the end, but we still have time for a couple of questions. If there are any questions for Preston, I see George has a hand up. George. Unmute. Hit that button.
I want to point out that in Tim's appeal, a discussion where he shows a dotted line to community college, another log on that fire is solid ground. You know, we saw solid ground being so successful in expanding and all that kind of stuff. Solid ground is right next door. It's adjacent to community college. So it's really important that we even provide that stepping stone from Maplewood up to community college / solid ground. It's another log that, just like Vadnais Heights, you know, these communities need to be served.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more, George.
Yeah.
And even though I'm gonna have to be out for a couple of months, Tim, we need to start talking with Diamond and Andre and Solid Ground, and really reaching out through and into that suburban connection. All right. Any questions for Preston? Anything else? Love that. Actually, I did want to, I had seen, there was a comment on one of my national political websites. It said that there was an important date happened recently. And that date was the 100th birthday of former President Jimmy Carter. Who without whom Habitat would not be what it is today. What they said was that this huge Habitat build was probably one of the best birthday presents that President Carter could have asked for. In that,
and let me make sure to add, he's the only one to ever get to 100. So shouts out President Carter. Only president to ever get to 100.
Yep. And so my Facebook feed had this: I have one life and one chance to make it count for something. My faith demands that I do whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can, for as long as I can, with whatever I have to try and make a difference. And so that's all of us too. Definitely President Carter. All right, now our last little jaunt. We are leaving the plush and actually kind of construction-y heights, and zooming down the road to the St. Paul Capitol building, where we are going to have updates on federal and state legislation from Sue Watlov Phillips, our MICAH Executive Director and a board member for the National Coalition of the Homeless. Sue.
Thank you, John, and thank you all for your just incredible presentations. And we are just so blessed as a community to have you all doing the work that you're doing. Just a little bit about me. I experienced homelessness as a teenager over 50 years ago, and it's been my honor to serve God over the last 58 years, working with people experiencing homelessness. As mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of MICAH. I was one of the founding members of the National Coalition, currently board member and policy co-chair, as well as the Homes for All Coalition, which is our statewide coalition working on policy. I am one of the legislative co-chairs. So again, thank you so much for all your work. As many of you are aware, we had a Supreme Court ruling that came down this summer that basically said that communities could criminalize people experiencing unsheltered homelessness on public land. And so as a theme for all of our bus tours, we are really about homes, not criminalization. And so I want to just give some updates briefly on how we got into this situation, and then talk a little bit about where we're at on federal and state policy. So we've had homelessness now growing for over we are now in our 5th decade of growing homelessness in the country. This is the longest period of growing homelessness ever in the United States since the colonial days. And yet in 2024, we often still blame people for experiencing homelessness instead of recognizing the structural causes of homelessness. 78% of the American population, 78% live paycheck to paycheck. About half of Americans are 1 to 3 paychecks for not being able to make rent or a mortgage payment. And over 50% of us, and maybe much higher now after COVID, will experience some type of mental health or chemical health issue in our life. So there are a lot of reasons why people are experiencing homelessness in our communities, and most of them are structural, and most of them are around the equity in the use of our resources and making sure that we have equitable opportunities for all people. So as I mentioned, on the federal level, we had the Supreme Court ruling. Our state was one of several states that put in an amicus brief, depending upon how you pronounce that word, that basically said we oppose criminalization of homelessness, is that we believe that we should be creating homes. So what also has happened on the federal level is we did not go into a government shutdown at the end of September, which was the end of our federal fiscal year. We did what's called a continuing resolution, or a CR, and that's through December 20th. That will basically keep us funded at the same level that we were funded in this last fiscal year. That's not enough money for us to keep things going. And just in looking at the latest estimates of Hurricane Helene, and then we have Hurricane Milton coming on shore, but Hurricane Helene, it looks like it's $14.5 billion to rebuild all the things that we will need to do there. The budget for FEMA is $20 billion. So you can see that we will use dollars very, very rapidly in this new fiscal year just to deal with one hurricane. We also had great legislation introduced by Senator Smith and Representative Ocasio-Cortez, and that's the Home Act. There's not going to be movement on it in this session, so it'll need to be reintroduced. But it really moves us from seeing housing as a commodity, and that means that if you have enough money, you can get it, to a basic need. And so we're real excited about this legislation. So, of course, all the programs that you've heard about today take money. It takes money for us to do buildings. It takes money for us to pay staff. It takes money to help people prevent them from becoming homeless. And so MICAH works on a continuum to housing, which includes prevention, outreach, day shelters, transitional housing, supportive housing, rental housing that's both has subsidies or not, home ownership, manufactured home communities, as well as a number of other supports like the child tax credit, universal basic income, to make sure that people have the basic resources to be able to take care of themselves and their families. So one of the issues that we are dealing with as we go into the state legislative session in January of 2025 is that we have a base budget that does not have enough money to continue to keep everything going that we have going. So during COVID, we had great resources coming in from the federal government, and during our historic 2023-2024 biennium on the state level, where we invested about $3 billion into housing and homelessness, another $2 billion into different types of supports that I just mentioned, is that most of those dollars were one-time dollars. So it did not increase what's called the base funding or the level funding that we start with. So it's going to be critical that we increase dollars in the system and to really make it a much more equitable system. Right now, for those of us that are homeowners, which I am one, is that we are subsidized through different tax breaks and through our tax code 4 times as much as what we put into housing for people with limited income. We need to bring equity into our system. So we have a lot of great work that we're doing at Homes for All, and we'll be starting to work on putting together our policy agenda for 2025. Some of that work includes work that has been developed by people that have experienced homelessness, including a Bill of Rights for people who are utilizing shelter, our state housing constitutional amendment, which would raise almost $500 million a year as a dedicated source for housing and for that entire continuum to housing, as well as continue to work on the source of income protection, so people that do have a subsidy can use that in any rental property, and landlords can't say, no, we can't, we won't take that. Making sure that we have rental assistance for all people that need it across the state. Beacon has done some great work on that, and we have started in that process, but we have a lot more work to do. and then continuing to build more housing. We need more housing. There's not enough housing that's affordable for people, both in the rental market and in the home ownership market. So let me conclude with saying that elections matter, is that it's very important that we have people register to vote and that people vote, because it's going to be probably a very close election, both at the national and some state races, and really encourage you to take a look at where people stand on making sure that we're meeting people's basic needs and that everyone has a home. Thank you again all for being here. Encourage you to be actively involved with MICAH on our legislative work. You can go to the MICAH.org website, and there's a policy section, so you can keep up to date on our policy work, as well as sign up for our constant contact, which will give you updates on what we're working on legislation. So thank you again. It's been a blessing to be a part of this, and thank you for all your incredible work.
All right. Just a couple of ways to be also involved. The Northeast Chapter is meeting the second Tuesday of every month from 8 to 9:30 in the morning. There are additional affordable housing bus tours. You can go to MICAH.org to get the list, or contact Sue, or either Sue Watlov Phillips or Sue Baisden for that. And as we are all returning to our virtual cars or virtual bikes or virtual buses, transit buses, or considering at the Capitol, we could hop on the Green Line light rail. We just wanted to take a wrap up with a quote from Pope Francis, "Our faith in action." And Pope Francis said, "We can find no social or moral justification, no justification whatsoever for the lack of housing." At MICAH, we must demand that all of our systems and organizations do what's needed to guarantee that everyone, without exception, has a safe, decent, accessible, and affordable home.